Welcome to this episode of the Wellbeing Room. Today, joining me in the room, I have Gemma McFall, who is a pain coach, and she is passionate about helping people overcome chronic pain and improve their overall well-being. Her interest in this field is not purely academic, it comes from her own experience. She suffered from chronic back pain for over 10 years whilst working in the corporate world. And she knows firsthand the impact that this can have on productivity, health, and quality of life. Now, I met Gemma through a mutual friend, Brigitte Gem, who I've also interviewed on this podcast. Brigitte interviewed Gemma on her podcast, Vegan Family Kitchen, not that long ago. And I loved hearing what Gemma had to say about pain. But what really pricked my ears was her knowledge of and understanding of the Clifton strengths, which she uses to help people overcome their pain. So, having done my Clifton Strengths Assessment back in 2021, I was really curious to learn more about my own strengths. And this all came at a time when I was feeling a bit uninspired in the work that I was doing, in this job that I had. And the way Gemma spoke about strengths gave me the confidence to trust in her ability to help me better understand how my strengths were showing up or weren't being used effectively in the work I was doing. So that was late 2022 when I worked with Gemma at doing some strengths coaching with her, and I'm really grateful for those coaching sessions. Gemma is a vibrant and energetic person and a wonderful coach, and I'm so grateful to have her here in the Wellbeing Room today. So welcome, Gemma.
Oh, that was such a good introduction. Thank you. It's really, really good to be here.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad you could join us. And you're in Dubai, which is an interesting part of the world too. So yeah, maybe we'll get a taste of what that's all about later in the
Yeah.
show. But let's get down to business. So I'd really be curious to know about your pain journey. You said you had 10 years of chronic pain whilst you were working in the corporate world. So do you know what caused the pain? How did it start? How is it showing up? And maybe some of our listeners might be able to relate to some of these experiences. So yeah, can you share with us about that?
Yeah, so I'm from the UK originally, and I was in the hospitality industry. 2 weeks before we were about to move out to Dubai, I had an injury. I was at a dance festival and I twisted my back, and that was kind of the start of the 10-year saga. Actually, we're just coming up to the anniversary of that now. But I moved to Dubai with kind of like a twinge in my back, and the idea was, take tablets, go see a doctor, and hopefully it'll just go away. That was the advice I was given, and I did that, and it didn't go away. It kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and then I'd have periods with no pain, and then it would come back, and so on and so on. It was kind of a cycle over many years, and to be honest, I didn't really notice it getting. I didn't notice how it had got worse until I sort of reflected on it later. But after 8 years in Dubai, we moved to Sri Lanka for another posting. And once I got there, the pain, it just went through the roof. Like I was in absolute agony. I had two little kids at the time, and I couldn't even lift them up from the floor. I couldn't get that. At the time, my youngest was 6 months. I couldn't even get her into the high chair. Like it was awful. So I was exploring all different options. By this point, I'd had physio, every tablet you can imagine. I was having injections in my spine, and I was kind of looking at the surgery option. So I was on a waiting list for surgery. In fact, I was due to have it. I think it was about 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I was about to have it. And then I was on a coaching call. I was studying to be a coach at the time, and I was the client. And the coach said to me, "What do you want coaching on?" And my reply was, I want to basically cut my back off because I can't live like this anymore. It's too painful, and that's what I want coaching on. And this poor girl that's trying to learn to do coaching had 20 minutes to help me with this. Obviously, in 20 minutes, she couldn't solve the back problem. But the tutor on the call actually said, you need to check out this book, which was it was called Healing Back Pain by John Sarno. This is now a kind of an old book, and there's much better books on the subject, much more up to date. But basically introduced me to the mind-body approach to healing. And the idea of the fact that whilst the pain was excruciating and very, very real, it was a learned response by my brain. So my brain was firing off pain signals, even though my actual body was healed. Many years ago, my body had been healed. So it's a complicated subject, but this is kind of like the quickest way to explain it. But as soon as I got the knowledge, it made so much sense. And as I was reading through this book, I was like, yes, 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 this applies to me so much. And it was largely to do with my personality traits, which is kind of how we got into the whole strengths thing. I have strengths personality traits that mean I'm kind of a high achiever, a people pleaser, empathetic, these kind of things that I was driving myself into more and more pain, if you like. And also it can come from trauma. Although I didn't have big trauma as a child, many, many little things through life build up and build up and build up. And eventually the body just goes, nope, not anymore, can't keep doing this. So getting the theory for me was the biggest nugget. And then I healed pretty quickly, considering it was years of pain. I think I was having my first kind of pain-free day after just a few months. And that's when I pivoted the coaching business. And I was like, right, if I can do it, I can help anyone do it, because it's education based. So
yeah.
That's
so did you end up having the surgery then or not?
No, I didn't. And now I look back on it, I reflect on that whole thing. I was desperate. I was so desperate. I was willing to fly from Sri Lanka to Singapore, to leave my 2 kids behind on my own, go there, have surgery, and then fly back one day later. But the surgeon had never met me. We'd never even had a phone conversation. I'd sent him MRI scans. And just looking at one MRI scan, he was like, yeah, I can do this, no problem. Get on this flight. And I look back now and I'm like, I didn't need that surgery at all.
Yeah.
So it was such a close thing, because actually a lot of spine surgeries, they give you relief for sure. And like so many people get relief, but after several years, it comes back.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Now it's really interesting. And I haven't read exactly the same book you did, but I have read another book by the same doctor. And yeah, it's very interesting about the whole mind-body approach, how we sort of create, I don't know if we create the pain, I don't know if that's the right word, but we sort of, that this pain appears and we sort of, there's this fear around it. And it's sort of brought about by having these personality traits, like you say. And I was really interested in the book that I was reading. He was talking about internalized rage and trauma as another possible cause or potential cause of the chronic pain showing up. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk a bit about that, your experience with that. You don't have to go into details, but like how you see that playing out in people potentially that you coach, and how they perhaps overcome that and work through that.
Yeah, I will do, but I just want to quickly go back to your thing about we create the pain. It's almost not fair to say that we create the pain. It's like it's our fault and the pain's not real, but the pain is absolutely real. And actually the sort of pain that I had is more painful than actually if I really was getting pain from my joints. But this is not limited only to back pain. This is migraines, fibromyalgia, many, many, many conditions, even things, skin rashes, everything, not everything, but, many, many things can be attributed to this pain fear cycle. And the easiest way to describe it is we learn to ride a bike. We never forget. You can't forget how to ride a bike once you know. And that's because the neural pathway has been established. So you get on a bike and you just automatically know what to do. And that's exactly what's happening with pain. Maybe we have an injury, or sometimes it doesn't even need to come from an injury. It could just come on. We wake up in the morning and suddenly we're in pain. But once that neural pathway for pain is established, that's it. It's there. Yeah. And the more we have the pain, the more we fear the pain, the bigger that neural pathway gets. And over time, the fear gets more, the pain gets more, and we go round and round, and that's it. So it's like, yes, we create it, but it's so subconscious.
Just yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. So sorry, going back to your question about rage. It's very interesting because the type of people that get, we call it neuroplastic pain, which is when the brain is firing signals incorrectly. So the type of people that get neuroplastic pain tend to be really, really nice people. You know, when you describe someone as, oh, that's such a nice guy, you know, or it's the people that will always put other people first. And so when we talk about suppressed rage, it's like, it's things, I could give you many examples here in Dubai. It's like the kids are all, you know, other people's kids, there are all different activities around Dubai. And then you have a mum and her job, that's stereotypical, but let's say a mum goes to pick up the child from gymnastics and then has to go to the next one and the next one and the next one. And she has to keep smiling all the time. But inside, there's like massive rage because it's like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to waste my day driving around? You know, why do I have to talk to people I don't like? Why, you know, it's, but all the time she's smiling and she's being just so nice to the kids and not, you know, but it's that voice in her head that's like, or rage could, I had a client recently and we got kind of to the bottom of her rage, and actually her rage was with the medical system because she was, you know, constantly been diagnosed with things, because often with chronic pain, it's not just one thing. It's like you maybe have one thing, but then it's another and another and another. And you tend to spend a long time being bounced around specialists. And so she trusted them and she believed them. And, you know, she was going down the Western medical route. But then she realized after reading a book, you know, like what we're talking about today, she realized that it's none of those things. It's this, she had neuroplastic pain. So she had major rage with the medical industry, but it had all just come up again because her mother was now having, is about to have surgery, and she can see it's unnecessary surgery she doesn't need, but she can't do anything about it because it's not her, it's her mother. So this is like,
it's really hard, I think, as too when we see friends or family who have, or even, you know, colleagues or clients, you know, that we're working with, like me as a yoga teacher, you know, I might see a yoga student who has, you know, some kind of chronic pain, and maybe they're, you know, going to a doctor or getting surgery, or, you know, have had surgery already. And I after reading that book and hearing you, and I often think, you know, is that something that, you know, was even necessary for them to go through? Could they, if they just, you know, educated themselves a bit about this neuroplastic pain and dealt with, or, you know, tried to work through whatever trauma or rage or experience that they were going through to, I guess, work with that would be obviously a better outcome than relying on the medical system potentially. That's not necessarily going to treat the cause, but more just, you know, consider it a symptom of some kind, or maybe not even know what the cause is. I think a lot of people have pain and there's no real visible cause. So it's attributed to something, perhaps like I was reading about the back pain, you know, like swollen discs or pinched discs or things like that. And they're not necessarily even causes of pain because people have those issues and don't have any pain, yet other people do. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting way the body works, and the mind and the nervous system. So
it's an interesting thing you say about the spine specifically, but it's absolutely normal that hair goes gray as we get older, skin changes as we get older. Like, we accept this as being absolutely normal. We don't go to the doctor and say, oh, my skin is like looking old or my hair is like going gray. We don't do that. So the only people that have perfect spines are brand new babies. Like, baby has just been born and it's got this perfect spine. But actually what happens to spines as we get older is they get damaged. It's just normal wear and tear. So when you look at MRI scans of older people, something, I can't remember the figures now, I wish I had them in front of me, but like from sort of the age of 20, you can almost guarantee that they will be degenerative disc disease at some for many, many 20-year-olds. But the higher the age, the more damage. But what happens is we see an MRI scan, the surgeon is looking for the cause of the pain, and they've got to find something. It's their job to find something. So they look down the MRI scan and they're like, oh, look, there's some damage. And then obviously we see that and we're like, damage. And that fuels the pain fear cycle. Yeah. But all pain is created in the brain, always. So,
what about acute pain though? I mean, acute pain, like if I drop, like the other week, I dropped a heater on my foot and it really hurt. Like there was pain, you know, that's, good. You know, am I making that up as well? Like, I mean,
absolutely. No, absolutely not. Acute pain. Okay, let's think about it like this. You've got a hob, you know, like for cooking and it's on.
Yeah.
If you put your hand on that hob and lean on it, like you need a signal to tell you that that hob is hot. Otherwise, your whole hand would melt and your arm would set on fire, you know? That pain is a warning signal for you to make a change, to do something differently. So you lift your hand up off that hob. So that's acute pain. What I'm talking about is where we go from acute pain to sort of after 3 months. If your hand is still hurting after 3 months, you know, that's now become chronic pain. After 3 months, it's sort of like the definition, because the body heals itself. Yeah. A broken arm, let's say, that's in 2 separate parts, of course it needs fixing back together. And the medical system is wonderful for things like this. And they enjoy doing these things and they fix it, you know, and the arm will heal. But where we get into this kind of gray area, it's not even fun for the doctors. They can't do anything for chronic pain. They can just keep treating it as if it's acute pain. We'll try this now, we'll try this now, we'll try this. But because it's
painkiller, you know.
Exactly. And because it's not, it doesn't respond. But the confusing thing is things do work. Like I was having injections in my spine and it would give me massive relief for a few weeks. Yeah. But it would come back. Partly why it was giving relief was because I was taking control and I felt calm. I've got this. So and obviously tablets mask the pain, but there's a huge difference between healing pain and getting rid of pain. We can get mask pain, get rid of it with all sorts of things, but healing is a whole different thing.
Yeah. So how do we heal the pain? You know, I was reading the book and it was talking about how the pain is like the brain's way of stopping you from basically having some, you know, outburst or some breakdown, you know, emotionally. And the brain is just channeling that into pain in the body to avoid you having this experience. So how do we overcome? Do we have to go through some sort of mental breakdown, or, you know, what's the process?
You know, you do not need to go through a mental breakdown.
Thank goodness for that.
Thank goodness. So the healing process is different for different people. I'll give you an example of one guy. Actually, it was a friend. He had very bad back pain, and we were at a barbecue together. He could hardly stand up. Like he couldn't stand up without kind of like leaning on the chair and, you know, like this. So we stood at the barbecue. I had a chat with him similar to what we're doing today. I told him my story, and then I give him a few resources to go away and read. And I said, if this resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, you know, it's not for everybody. Not everyone is ready to hear this. But he went away, he read the book, and within a few months, I got loads of little voice messages from his wife when they were away on holiday. And she was like, I'm so happy. This is the first time we've had a holiday and he hasn't been talking about his pain. And like, it's amazing. I can't believe it. It's gone. So he's what we would call a book cure, because he literally read the theory on neuroplastic pain and his brain went, this makes so much sense. And he something switched in his brain and he was no longer scared of the pain. And when we're not scared of the pain, it kind of releases somewhat. Unfortunately, he is in the minority. Most people need a bit more support than that. So the first thing is education. And then the next part is looking at, this is what I did with you, looking at personality and how your personality might be fueling the pain. So, I mean, maybe we can talk more about personality after, so we can come back to it, but there's certain personality types that are, let's say, when we talk about that rage, there's some personality types where we will just put our needs second and we'll put everybody else first, which is then contributing to the rage.
Yeah.
So that's personality. Then the next piece is past. So with clients, I always go through a timeline, literally from the year they were born up until today. And we look at all the emotional events that have happened through life. And then we map it to physical things that have happened to them through their whole life. And we can see, and then we start to see the pattern very, very quickly, even from very, very young age. I've had clients where they've said, oh yeah, as a child, I used to have this condition, like not being able to swallow food, things like this. And then you look at what's happening emotionally for them around that same time, and you can see the connection. And then again, later and later and later. And this, without even going into the deep emotions of this, just talking about it and seeing the connections sometimes is enough for people to go, oh, makes sense. That relates to the theory of pain. And now I get like why this is the case.
Yeah.
And then the next stage, within that, some people might need actual help with trauma. So I will sometimes, take people back with different techniques to help them feel that emotion again and fully process it. Because sometimes, things happen and we haven't got time to have a breakdown at the time, like a death in the family or something. We've got to keep it together. So we keep it together on the surface, but then it's when the emotions just get kind of packed down and we put a lid on it. And then years and years later, it comes out as pain, physical pain, because we never dealt with it. So that's part of the past. And then the last section is present day. Like, what do you do in your present day that helps to regulate your nervous system? Because it's all very well kind of figuring out, where the pain's coming from. But if we don't make any lifestyle changes and we keep living at 90 miles an hour and putting other people first all the time, we'll just slip back again. So just helping people to have kind of more of a balance, I would say. So that's the process I tend to go through.
Yeah. Just on that last point, about regulating the nervous system, I've talked about that on the Wellbeing Room before. We've had some other people share about that, but it's I think especially for older people who perhaps have never gone down that path or have maybe dabbled in a bit of mindfulness here and there, but that whole nervous system regulation, it's a really big piece and it can be quite challenging. There's lots of, I think it personally, it involves a lot of awareness and change, or implementing new ways of doing and being, which for some people, maybe that's really challenging. Others, maybe not so much. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is a fascinating topic, this nervous system thing, because if you'd have asked me when I was at the height of my back pain, are you stressed? I would have said no, honestly. But then if you look at my lifestyle, I was leaving the house at 7:30 in the morning to go I was a HR director. So I was leaving the hotel, leaving 2 children, going to work in Dubai, it's minimum 8:30 till 6:30 is the working hours in hospitality industry. And I was regularly doing much longer than that. So I was doing that, then going home and being a perfect mum, and then the kids would go to bed, and then I would be a perfect wife, and so and then repeat day after day after day. So that was my lifestyle. But you ask me, am I stressed? I would say, no, not at all. Of course I'm not stressed. But the reason I and many, many people in this position don't feel their nervous system's dysregulated is because it's been dysregulated since they were a child.
Yeah.
So for them, it's normal. For me, I always had a dysregulated nervous system, maybe because I was too perfect as a child, maybe I don't know, but like I'm trying to be too good. So I'm nervous all the time. And then as I grew up, it just stayed nervous. And so I don't know or didn't know what it felt like to have a calm nervous system.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
fascinating.
It
It's so
is. It must have been
interesting.
a bit of a shock when you saw the difference
Yes.
then.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a journey, but like it's awareness. But
Mm,
yeah, I so in many, many, many ways, I'm so grateful. This sounds ridiculous, and anybody listening to this in pain right now would just not agree with this at all. But I am so grateful for that back pain because now, having gone through that journey, I'm a different person. Honestly, I'm a different mom, I'm a different wife, I'm a different human. I've got so much more awareness of who I am. And now when I feel kind of a twinge here or there or whatever in my back or a migraine or something, I immediately go to emotion. What's going on?
mm,
What's going on right now? And then I deal with the emotion. And
yeah.
then I can move on with life. So it's like an early warning signal now. It's fantastic. I'm so grateful, which
Yeah.
sounds ridiculous, right?
No, yes and no. I think it makes total sense, to be honest. But I think it's because I'm in this kind of line of work as well. So I kind of get it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, a pain is, yeah, it's a way of learning about ourselves, isn't it? And we can
Mm.
choose to work with it or against it, for or against, and either reap the benefits or suffer the consequences. I think,
Yeah.
sadly. Um, yeah, but I'm interested to know now more about the strengths. Like, is that the strengths, the Clifton strengths, something you or just knew about because of your work in the corporate world, or how did you stumble across that? And then how did you make the connection between the strengths and the pain coaching side of things?
Oh, yeah, great question. So I was familiar with Gallup strengths for all through the corporate world, and from a work point of view, it really helped me because somebody put me through it. I got my top 5 strengths, and I
Mm.
looked at it and I was like, oh, I'm in the wrong job. I actually resigned from my job, but my boss pulled me over. She was like, one of the guys there, and they were like, no, 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 you don't need to resign. This is who you are, and you do the job your way. It's just you're not a typical HR director. Like you don't have the natural, let's say, what we stereotypically would think a HR director would have. But as soon as I realized that, I was like, right, okay, so this is how I work. And I stepped into being me as opposed to trying to pretend to be like all the other HR directors. Does that make
Mm.
sense? So
Yeah.
that's how I first found out about it. And then when we were about to leave Dubai and move to Sri Lanka, I got retrained. I got trained up on the tools so that I could be a facilitator in the future. And that was in December. By the time we got to Sri Lanka in January, that's when my back pain was at its absolute worst. And then I think around February, I was reading the book. And when I started, reading about personality types, I was like, oh, certain personality types cause chronic pain. And I was looking down the list of these things. I was like, yes, I have that. Yes, 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 yes. I was like, I ticked all the boxes for, what we were talking about earlier. And then I realized, what I know about positive psychology and strengths is there is no bad personality type.
Mm.
Like all of the strengths are good, but it's how you use them that
Mm.
matters. So
Mm.
that's where I then kind of went back to what I'd literally just been through in this course, and I made sure every single day I was using my strengths.
Mm.
So naturally in the corporate world, like we were just talking about it, I had aligned my job so every single day I was using my strengths, which
Yeah.
means I feel alive, I've got loads of energy, I'm really being the best version of myself. Then suddenly in Sri Lanka, I'm a stay-at-home mom with back pain,
Mm.
and I'm looking at these strengths and I'm like, I'm not using any of them at
Mm.
all.
Mm.
And so, of course, I was feeling drained and miserable, and I had no purpose. So I gradually kind of changed my day. I didn't get it. I wasn't going out to work, but I just changed the way I was being around the house.
Mm.
For example, I have learner. Learner is one of my strengths.
Yep.
So every day I put a TED talk on, and I was listening to a TED talk or a podcast or something. And just for those few minutes while I'm listening or learning, I felt alive and happy. And guess what? No back pain for 20 minutes, And then I got a voluntary job in my son's nursery school. I went and volunteered there. And then again, it was very weird. I had no back pain from, I think it was something like 8 o'clock in the morning until 12:30. No back pain at all. And it's because I was using my strengths. I was in flow. I was energized. I had a purpose. I would get home in the afternoon, back pain again, which is really good evidence that it's neuroplastic pain. Because if the pain comes and goes at different times, then it's got to be almost certainly going to be neuroplastic pain. So this is why I realized StrengthsFinder was such a key thing.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I would recommend the listeners to this podcast episode, if they're interested in hearing Gemma going a bit deeper about that. The interview that Brigitte did with you was quite in depth about how you use the strengths and pain management. But unfortunately, we don't have time to get stuck into that too much today. But it definitely is a great tool, and Gemma would be a wonderful coach to help you through that if you indeed have chronic pain and want to learn how to manage it and manage it using your strengths. I definitely know that having discovered what my top 5 strengths are and working with you to understand them better has helped me a lot. And I did also resign from my job as a result, but I think that was on the cards anyway, so not such a big deal. So I guess, how has your life changed? I guess you've touched on this a bit already, but how has your life changed having come out of the other side of this pain? And, what are you doing now? I've been reading your emails and you've got some amazing things that you're doing. So what are you doing now that's helping you use your strengths and manage pain and, do all the things that you want to do?
Well, yeah. So these days I have a coaching practice here in Dubai, but pretty much everything I do right now is on Zoom, which is amazing. So I've got clients all around the world, which is just an amazing feeling to be meeting, so many great people. And I think where I kind of specialize, let's say, is I like the energy at the beginning of coaching. Like I love giving people the tools and the knowledge and the quick wins. And that StrengthsFinder is a very quick way to very quickly see why your nervous system is being triggered, whether it's through relationships. I mean, this is a great marriage tool as well. If there's any stress within a marriage or with kids or whatever, when you know your strengths, and you don't even need to know their strengths, but when you know your strengths, you can immediately see why you're being triggered and what to do about it. And I love this like quick transformation. So that's where I spend most of my time doing coaching like this. I'm also going to be working much more with corporates to get the word out, because it makes me so sad that this is not common knowledge. It's such simple science and there's so much research backing it up, but it's not mainstream because it's not taught in medical school. And I just want everybody to know. So yeah, this is where are we heading? But these days I have no pain whatsoever. So I do a lot of cycling. I've just done my first half marathon. I'm learning to unicycle.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Because I've kind of gone the other way. I'm like, I've got my life back. So now I'm like, what can I do? So for my 40th birthday, I got a tightrope.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I'm just like challenging myself. I just did a 4.5 kilometer swim around the Burj Al Arab, which is one of the famous buildings here. So anything active, sporty that can push me is where I just love it. Because as I'm doing it, I'm like, yes, I'm so happy I found the answer. And that's what kind of fuels me now to make sure other people do it. And I think, because my kids are now 6 and 8. Yeah, 6 and 8. The way I am with them when they're sick as well is so different. Like the language I use, it's like they'll say, oh, my tummy hurts. And I'll say, oh, I'm sorry, tummy hurts. What have you got on at school tomorrow? I'm trying to find what's behind that. If your tummy could talk to you, what would it be saying? And almost always we can get to the root of whatever it is. Of course, like you said, there's some things it's acute pain, but there's no fear around symptoms when they come up. We just kind of talk, and I wish that more people were like that, because there's so many medicines and tablets that we can just go, oh, quick, we have this thing called Calpol. Do you have Calpol there? It's like a kid's medicine. It's like the answer to everything. My go-to used to be like, oh, I have this wrong with me. Okay, Calpol. I give them Calpol all the time. But now it's just it's just a happier place to be. And I think the hidden benefit that's come out of this is I'm no longer like a stressy mom. I'm still a little bit of a stressy mom, but like not in the same way. Like I used to go from 0 to 100. Like the kids would trigger me. Like I would have back pain 7:15 at night every night, and it was the bedtime routine. It was triggering back pain. Yeah. Whereas now I'm much more like woosah.
It's that extra level of chill.
That's a good way to put it. Extra level of chill.
No, it's good. And I think you raised a really good point about how we're so quick to offer something by way of fixing a problem, like a tablet or medicine or some kind, rather than trying to nut out what the cause is. Like I love that what's happening at school, or what's the feeling. Like I think getting to understand what the feeling is, I think, is part of the way of that nervous system regulation. So understanding, is it a tightness? Is it a, churning? What's that feeling like? And then trying to think about why, and hopefully it's not an acute case of gastro or something, but, like if it is, obviously taking the right tools, but just being aware that a lot of the problems that kids and adults face, a lot of it's based on emotions, and that reaction to how we're feeling. And it's usually a state of anxiety or stress that is the cause.
Yeah. I think if there was one thing that we haven't covered that I really want to say is there's many people that have symptoms that are not bad enough to bother to do anything about it. So they'll say something like, oh, I just get migraines, but it's only once a month. Or, my shoulder hurts, but it's only when it's cold, but there's been this ongoing persistent thing. Or like, I have issues with my knees, so I no longer run. There's no reason why anyone should have issues with their knees and they can't run. We're exceptionally strong, like machines, like we're strong people. And it kind of makes me sad that they will live their whole life with that issue. And it's not, if we don't do anything about it, it's not going to get better. It's not going to magically get better. And I just wish that I could help these people, because you don't have to live like this. And for people where it's very minor things like that, really reading the book might be just enough to be like, yes, So
I'm always astounded when people come to like a yoga for the first time or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, I've got this neck pain. I had like a car accident 20 years ago. I'm like, 20 years ago and you still got neck pain? I'm like, something doesn't sound right, but you can't really tell people that. It's, I wouldn't know how to approach that topic of conversation.
There's actually a really interesting study that's been done on whiplash. I have to dig it out, but they put people in a fake car crash. So it was people in a car that didn't move, but they simulated that it moved, put broken glass on the floor and everything. And the researchers predicted with incredible levels of accuracy how many people would have whiplash from it, purely based on who the people were and their past. They'd filled in questionnaires, and based on their personality types and who they were and their past trauma. And people had whiplash after a fake car crash. 2 weeks later, still had whiplash. And then they followed them for longer, and some of the people still had whiplash.
Yeah.
So that you should give the study to these people in yoga. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up today? Because we're quickly running out of time.
Oh, I could talk on this subject for literally
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours, but I really appreciate you giving me this platform to
Mm,
talk and share, and I hope even one person listening to this goes
mm,
and takes action. You don't have to live
yeah.
in pain.
So do I. Yeah. So Gemma is currently offering virtual coaching packages, as she mentioned. So if you are listening or watching and you have chronic pain and you would like to work on alleviating it, getting rid of it, doing something about it, then please get in touch with Gemma. She's great to work with. And using the strengths, I feel, is just one of the best ways of working through that process. So please get in touch with Gemma. I'll leave links in the show notes to her information, how you can get in touch with her. And if you just want to do the strengths coaching as well, is that something you're still open to, Gemma, without the
Yeah,
pain
absolutely.
attachment?
Oh, absolutely. I love helping people to figure out their strengths. And
Yeah.
you know, strengths is something you can do by yourself,
Mm,
but you can do the assessment, but without having the mirror person there to help you
mm,
to decipher it, it's not very useful.
yeah.
But I would love to help anyone that wants to, to figure
Yeah.
out who they are and how they
Mm.
tick and what's
Yeah, no,
triggering
it's
them.
really fascinating stuff. And I really loved going through that with you. It's really helped a lot. So thank you so much for joining me in the Wellbeing Room today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. And yeah, all the best for, do you know how long you're going to be in Dubai for? Is that kind of like a long-term thing, or will you be heading off to some other exotic location soon?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who
Well, that's
knows?
the joys
So
of
yeah,
being able to work remotely. It's really a blessing, I think, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gemma.
Thank you. Thank you.